1990s was the dawning of a second heavyweight golden era. After ripping the championship from the iron grip of Mike Tyson, Buster Douglas makes an ill-fated title defense against a much smaller man by the legendary name of Evander, the real deal Holyfield.
So well in the heavyweight ranks.
A fight which remains the best example of why you don't throw uppercuts at long range.
There's a new heavyweight champion of the world.
Holyfield chases off the last contenders of the old generation.
And Holyfield landing inside. One punch after another.
Phil's Lane has seen enough.
In 1992, still barely a heavyweight at 205 pounds, Evander rules the land of giants with solid fundamentals and a psychotic competitive drive.
For Evander Holyfield. And Richard Steele steps in and stops the fight.
Riddick Big Daddy Bowe was an up-and-comer, spawned from the same harsh environment that created Mike Tyson.
We went to school together in Brooklyn. Yeah.
Down the street in Brownsville, Brooklyn, they were familiar. Before long, Mike was on a crime spree, mugging old ladies. Riddick got word and walked his mother everywhere she needed to go. The real Big Daddy long before BioShock. The Brooklyn native was undefeated since winning silver at the '88 Olympics. He stood 6'5", weighed 235 pounds without an ounce of flab on him, was trained old school by the same man who saved boxing by ending the Thriller in Manila at the very height of the first heavyweight golden era.
Has the potential to become the best heavyweight I've ever trained.
Eddie Futch had been in boxing since the Great Depression. Riddick Bowe was his final finished product. Riddick's long reach and power were obvious gifts. In 1992, these two met in the fight that would signal the dawning of a new age of heavyweight boxing.
These two men have a passion, and I mean a sheer passion. That passion is to become heavyweight champion of the world.
They meet for the first time in November. The fight opens with Holyfield using his usual small man tactics, lateral movement, and high volume.
Inside 5 rounds. Chip away at Bowe's confidence. Joe Cortez trying to stop the fighters, and war is broken out in the middle of the ring. And this might not be good for Holyfield.
Riddick found a very simple answer very early. Evander threw. Riddick would hopefully take the punch on the glove and immediately counter with a right hand to the body.
Pushes him away to get him from arm's length. And
this stunted Holyfield's movement and wore him out.
Holyfield lands again. And again. And Bowe fights right back.
Unable to go side to side, Evander started swarming. Bowe had all the answers on the inside too.
Gregory and Mackie Shilstone. Evander Holyfield is landing the best left hooks he can throw, and they're not hurting Bowe. That's bad news for him.
His unique ability to grapple his way around and through Holyfield's defense to land his power punches was rare.
Pace early, so that's to be expected. Now see, that right hand didn't hurt Holyfield. Are we now at the point where he's not going to be? Oh, big uppercut from Bowe.
To have that ability at 6'5" is totally unique. Holyfield responds the only way he knows how, with an endless series of combinations.
That one got there. Spectacular fight in terms of action. And here goes Holyfield.
It all came to a head in round 10, when Evander, breathing heavily, looks for a moment's rest in the clinch. Riddick sees the opportunity and drops his weight into a vicious uppercut that rocks the former cruiserweight. Riddick rushes to finish him, but Evander stands strong and charges into the eye of Hurricane Bowe, turning back the storm and putting the big man on wobbly legs.
Evander Holyfield. Now he goes after Bowe. Holyfield with the right.
As the legendary round ends, they pat each other on the stomach like two old friends going their separate ways.
That's one of the best rounds in heavyweight history ever.
Holyfield was hurt again. And despite the shot that dropped him being an illegal rabbit punch, the ref rules it a knockdown.
The champ down for the second time in his career. 5, 6, 7. You'll never see more courage from a fighter than you've seen from Evander Holyfield ever.
A wild fight ended in the predictable conclusion, with all three judges awarding Riddick Bowe his hard-earned championship.
Heavyweight champion of the world, Riddick Big Daddy Bowe.
Ever since I was a little kid, I always dreamed of being heavyweight champion of the world. But never in my wildest imagination could I have dreamt of what would follow.
For the first time since the Olympics, Riddick was left off a nearly monthly schedule of fights. With 3 months to himself as heavyweight champion, Riddick traveled the world, attending dinners in his honor wherever he went. And a champion boxer, gluttony and sloth were deadly sins. Riddick came in at 246 pounds and pudgy, nothing like the statue that stood strong in the first fight. Evander had also put on a freshman 15, but he got his at the weight room rather than the cafeteria.
Let's get it on! The thing I gotta tell you that's a pleasure for me about this, as Bowe comes Holyfield.
The world expected a wild night, but even the rematch of the fight of the year blew those expectations away. Bowe came out looking for an early knockout, knowing he couldn't go the distance. Evander fought to a game plan of making the big man come to him.
Holyfield is counting on a counter right hand. If he catches Bowe, he's going to drop him so little with so much effort.
Bowe continued to dominate up close early in the rounds. Evander's quicker hands and feet were bothering the big man.
And the left hand for Holyfield. And they swing and swing after the bell. And look at this.
Bowe started to breathe heavily as the pace and his unhealthy diet took its toll.
I wasn't in shape, but I said I can whip this old guy. Bowe made me hurt. He is hurt. He's hurt.
Holyfield gunning for a stoppage here.
Then, in round 7, a man with a fan strapped to his back crashed into the ring lights, to the confused horror of everybody except Riddick Bowe's entourage, who promptly pulled the parachutist down and put a beating on him.
The parachutist had been momentarily attacked by some at ringside, perhaps a couple of officials, and bystanders and spectators near where he landed.
It gave Riddick Bowe the breather he badly needed. But this fight was lost for Riddick long before they stood between the ropes.
Right hand by Holyfield inside, rocks Bowe back. Round 11. For the second year in a row, they fought the fight of the year.
He lost at the buffet. Despite a fortunate break, Evander won by close majority decision.
Georgia, Evander, he won it.
Again, I take my hat off to Evander Holyfield. I wish him all the luck, and perhaps we can do the third time.
The third fight saw Bowe learn his lesson. A trimmer, motivated Riddick Bowe turned up for the third fight. He was mean and dirty as ever, but a trimmer Riddick Bowe. Evander didn't look his usual fundamentally sound self.
Hard right hand by Bowe. Holyfield answers with a counter left.
His feet seemed slow. And it led to exactly the type of fight Riddick Bowe was going to win.
10 or 12 rows, what's going on?
Bowe landed a straight right. Holyfield came back with a counter left.
It was another dirty, brutal contest. With the specter of a latent heart condition Holyfield suffered the year before, hanging over a violent war. Gasping and wheezing in his corner, Holyfield gets up for round 6.
Evander Holyfield in the corner between rounds looked more exhausted than I've ever seen him at this stage of a fight.
And lays the big man out with a left hook.
Down goes Bowe! First knockdown of Riddick Bowe's career.
That didn't change the fact that Evander was still seriously off. Riddick Bowe recovered himself to come back and stop Holyfield in the 8th round.
Holyfield, and now down goes Evander. A right hand by Bowe.
It would be the only stoppage loss in the first 19 years of Holyfield's career.
Here's the 4th, and that's it.
The trilogy was the crowning achievement of Riddick Bowe's time in boxing. He never recaptured his form from their first fight. But for Evander, these fights served as a valuable and concerning lesson about the reality of fighting huge men with skills. Never again would Holyfield have the issue with his heart or stamina.
He was the best man, and ain't nothing I can take away from him, because it's not like I wasn't prepared. He just better.
Holyfield built himself into the heavyweight he needed to be in order to go heads up with the giants of the second heavyweight golden age. While Riddick had all the gifts, Evander had all the drive. That proved all the difference.